everybody, welcome to OnPodcast, the On Microsoft podcast, where we talk about Microsoft stuff on a podcast. We are glad to have you guys here today. I'm going to see if I could say podcast, Microsoft podcast 2 more times. I am your co-host today, Kareem Anderson. I'm joined by the world's greatest co-host,
Riff Bacchus.
Yeah, and we have a jam-packed podcast for you. We have tons of news to talk about. We also have a great interview that we want to share with you guys. So we are glad you're sitting in, buckling in for this podcast today.
Yeah, our first topic, like Kareem hinted at, is a chat with a Windows Insider MVP. His name is Florian. You guys probably saw one or two of his tweets at one point or another because he's well known in the community and he's always tweeting about Microsoft. And he's just like Kareem and myself. He's a mega Microsoft fan. So we're looking forward to chatting with him.
Yeah, and then we also will be talking about Surface stuff. We have our spring event recap. We also have some information about new Surface stuff that's coming out as well.
And then our third topic is one that is a little bit controversial, maybe, I think, depending on how you look at it, because I saw the headlines, Microsoft is killing off Windows Timeline, but it's not true. There are some changes coming to Windows Timeline, though, and that is our third topic. And we'll just speed you through some changes that you need to know about.
Yeah, then we got Edge news, which is the big event. We got Edge version 90 coming out, brought some new things with it, particularly the kids mode. And then I believe you had an interview or talked with some people about that as well, that we can kind of glean some information from that and see what to kind of expect. And then our last one of the topic news, which is a purchase of
Nuance, right?
Yes.
What is this nuance and why is it so important? That is what we're going to talk about.
We're going to get into that because before they bought them, I had no clue.
And then I know you love talking about week ahead. So what do we have planned for the week ahead?
Yeah, we have an amazing review, which is, I think you got some hardware, which, is always fun to talk about in the week ahead, which is a Dell UltraSharp 38 curved USB-C hub monitor review that should be, I believe it's already up on the site. So we can kind of, or did you do your first impressions?
No, I did not do anything with it yet. It's so awesome that I'm just like basking in the glory.
I think you mentioned it on Twitter then.
Yeah, I have it like sitting on my desk and I've been testing it. But yeah, for the week ahead, I'm going to be doing my full review of the Dell UltraSharp 38 curved USB-C hub monitor. Yeah, that was a mouthful.
Yeah, they got a better naming. Then we got our Edge 91 Final Dev Branch build. Should be, I believe, rolling out next week.
Yep. And then also some more news about Microsoft Flight Simulator as well.
All right. With that being said, let's jump right into this interview because time is a wasting.
All right. So for our first segment here on the On Podcast, we have a Windows Insider MVP. His name is Florian. And if you guys are very active on Twitter, you might have seen one or two of Florian's tweets once in a while because he's always poking around and looking for new things in Office and in Windows. And he's a very active Windows Insider. And he's also a tech podcaster and a very big Microsoft fan. He's just like me and Kareem, basically. He's a big advocate for Microsoft and Microsoft products. And it's a pleasure to have Florian here on the podcast. And we'll get started here with our first question, which is, I mentioned you're a Windows Insider MVP, but what exactly is a Windows Insider MVP and how can you become one?
Well, before the Windows Insider MVP program, there was a Microsoft MVP program. So it was a thing where they would look for people, ambassadors, fans, enthusiasts, all kind of people really. And the idea was to make them ambassador for the company and its product. And you would give them access to early products, information, stuff like that. Of course, all of this is under NDA, so you are not allowed to talk about it in public or in podcast, which is sometimes a bit annoying, but we have to do with it. We have to sign, all 15-page NDA, so they are very serious about that. And a few years back, they extended the program to Windows Insiders as well. So basically, to get into the program, you need to get a nomination. So you either can nominate yourself or someone else can nominate you. For me, it was another insider that nominated me. And so Microsoft asked me what I had been doing Microsoft related in the last year. So I talked about my Twitter account, Reddit, forum, the French podcast I'm part on, the few Windows video we put on YouTube once in a while, and well. A few months later, I got a letter that I was accepted, and so I've been an insider for the last, an MVP for the last 2 months now. So still new.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, congrats. It's really amazing to be recognized by Microsoft like that.
Yeah, it's amazing because when I created my Twitter account, it was 6, 7 years ago, for at least 2 years, I had less than 10 followers, but it takes a while, and suddenly it feels like it goes faster and faster and faster. It's kind of
Well,
it's
it's
amazing.
crazy. Like you'll see like one person or maybe like a Microsoft account will follow you. And then all of their friends start to like, oh, why are they following this guy? And then all of a sudden you're like, you wake up one morning, you're like, I got 200 extra people.
Yeah,
Where'd they come
exactly.
from?
Jen Gentleman, she sometimes likes a few of
Yeah.
my posts, and every time she does like one of my posts, I get a few more followers, kind of because it just pops up. It's
She's
funny.
pretty amazing. Yeah. I go to her
Yes.
for all this. She's like the sticker queen. Like whenever we meet for Ignite and stuff like that, she has tons of stickers. So for those of you who want followers, follow her. And if you want stickers, follow her.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So for our second question, I know you just talked about the Windows Insider MVP program and how you got to that, but can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey and what you do and what's going on in your life?
Yeah, so, well, I'm French, so sorry about the terrible French accent. I mean, I apologize for that.
No, it's
So,
classy. Like again, Americans are suckers for accents, so
Yeah.
the more the better.
so I was born in Calais. I don't know if you know it. It's in northern France. It's right in front of the UK. So there's a channel tunnel between France and the UK. Well, this there is the UK and Calais is on the other side. So like this. So there was a computer club in the middle school I went to in the mid 90s. And it was very old machine, even from back then, mostly 386, 486. So for those who are too young to have known this, those were the first 30-bit computer, and most of them were with MS-DOS and Windows 3. But well, of course, that was what we used in that era. And I do remember, using those things for the first time, and the teacher who was managing the club, he told us, you type win, WIN, and you type enter, and then it pops. It just pops, Windows 3 popped up on its desktop and everything, and it felt a bit magical, that it was why we were in the DOS command line, it was a bit weird. I was a kid, I didn't know what it was, And then Windows popped up and you could take the mouse and click around and just it became a magical machine that you could do all of stuff with. And within a few weeks, I think I used I can't remember if it was Publisher Award, one of the two, to create some birthday card, and I was printing them on the school printer. It was fun, I kind of, and then a few months later, something amazing happened. They got their first Windows 95 Pentium at school,
Oh boy.
and that was, yeah, everyone was fighting to get the Windows 55 machine, kind of. And a week later again, they got internet. So I remember we spent with the teacher for a full evening trying to put it online. Back then, I didn't understand anything about hyperlinks. So basically, I remember I was on the landing page for Internet Explorer and I clicked stuff and just, wow, there's a lot of stuff all over. It's fun, it's amazing. And that's basically how I became a Windows fan, because, in my mind, it was a machine that made amazing stuff, And eventually I got my own PC at home and I got internet connection. And I do apologize to my parents for the fees they got the first few months before we got internet. I do
Boy.
apologize to that.
Right.
And then, I remember I had a game I really liked. Maybe you know about it. It was Little Big Adventure. It was, I think, Relentless in the US. Well, it was a French game, so maybe not that known. But it would only
What
one.
was it? Maybe it's a different title here.
I think it's Relentless. Relentless in the US. Twin Sons and Dell. No, Don't be
I haven't
again.
played it, but I'm
I
sure
haven't heard of
people that
it.
are
No.
listening
Okay,
might
fine.
have.
It's a French game, so maybe not that well known, but it would only run on MS-DOS, and I remember trying to install it, and I broke up completely the Windows partition.
Oh no.
And
Wow.
it was the first time I needed to reinstall it. I creating a boot disk and installing Windows 98 again. And
This
so
is like installing an insider build today where one little mess of a thing can break the whole operating system.
See,
well,
but then
it
here's
was
the question. Here's the question. How did you figure out how to fix it? Because I mean, now we can go to like YouTube or you can go to your phone to
Yeah.
like get information. But if you have your computer's your only thing and you break it, what
yeah.
do you do?
Basically, they back then they gave you a MS-DOS boot disk with your computer, and you
Right.
put
The
it on the
safety, yeah.
computer, and then basically it said type 1 to add super CD-ROM support, and you did that. You put CD-ROM, and it started into the Windows installer from there. So it was not that hard, but I learned a lot, by breaking stuff.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
did. And eventually from that, I've started to be interested in beta stuff. The first Windows beta I installed was the Windows XP beta, I think. And from there on, afterward, eventually I kept wanting to try new stuff. And from Windows Vista Beta 1, which are still long gone, built, I think, 5,000 something. I've always used the latest beta on Windows on my machine, all the way since 2005.
Wow.
Leaked,
Wow.
leaked, leaked of official. Every time there was a new build, I found it and I installed it, and I used that one for daily use. So
Wow.
it's been a long journey.
Yeah,
And
it has.
that is only the phone, the PC side. On the phone side, I used to have an old Motorola phone, and I didn't really care about phone back then, because I had read about Windows Mobile, and I did want a Windows Mobile too. I eventually got my first HTC, I think maybe Typhoon, on Windows Mobile 2003 in 2004, something like that. And eventually, I moved up to Windows Mobile 5, 6, Windows Phone 7, 8, 8.1, all the way to Windows 10 Mobile. And I finally got my first ever non-Microsoft phone in 2018, which is quite late.
Yeah,
They,
you held
they,
that for a while.
they kicked me out. I had to turn off the light, and I moved to Android. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is for my Windows Phone. On the personal part, my professional life. At first, I didn't really want to do things with computer because I saw it as a hobby. But so I did math studies and things like that. But eventually, I found math boring, and I eventually moved back to more computer side stuff. And nowadays, I work at Decathlon. I think maybe you know about it. In the US, a bit smaller than in Europe, I think, but it's a sport brand. Decathlon.
What is it one more time?
The
Decathlon.
Catalan.
Yes,
Huh.
it's a sport brand. There's not many stores in the US. There's a few, but it's mostly European for so far. But basically, I work in the IT team there, managing the systems that send parcel toward customer. Because you wouldn't think you would think it's easy, but it's not. It's a complete mess.
Especially now where everyone is shopping online and like you
Yes,
have a
yes,
million
yes.
orders coming in each day because you can't go to physical retail stores. And he's talking about Decathlon, which is it's a French sporting goods retailer, but they do have some locations here in the US.
A
And they
few, yes.
sell 10,000 products across 80 different sports. It's kind of like Models or Bob's sports stores here in the USA.
Yeah, it's a big French company, but I know about it because I sort of manage the Google Cloud servers, and I see the US does not have much. There's not many orders there compared to Europe.
Yeah.
But that said, why don't you talk to us about what's going on today at Microsoft? I know you're like me. You have Surface headphones on right now, and you
Yeah.
just bought Surface headphones too. So, what are your thoughts on Microsoft's latest round of Surface hardware?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of hardware. I mean, I feel like ever since Surface Pro 3, I mean, Surface Pro 1 and 2 were basically beta products in my mind, but ever since 3, it's incremental update. I mean, it's
Right.
a bit better each time, but you don't have to buy the new one whenever it's ready. It's the same with Surface X4, and if you have the first one, you don't need the 2 or the 2 Plus. It's just a bit extra. Sadly, my Surface headphone 1 was stolen in my car 2 weeks ago, so I needed to buy the 2. But never leave your IC stuff in your car, never.
Yeah. Good advice.
Good tip.
Yeah. But I feel they really make great products, great quality products. They last a long time. I mean, I still rock my Surface Pro 4 on my, which is still perfectly good and usable on the latest build. I mean, it's like 5 or 6 years old now, I think.
Yeah.
And but the only thing I would say is a bit sad is the prices, because well, remember back in the early days, you still had, I think until Surface 3, you still had a bit of a low-cost alternative.
Mm-hmm.
But it's starting to get higher and higher. I feel like the low cost from today is basically the high cost from 6 years ago. You know?
It's weird. I was noticing that too, especially when they announced the Surface laptop. That while we see it as like, oh, a starting price of like $899 is like pretty awesome. They're the best one, the one that you want to use, is still pretty expensive. And it seems like every time they introduce a new piece of hardware and update, you would think that they would, shift the prices down for other inventory, but they just get rid of it. It's like, oh, we don't have any Surface Pro 6s or 5s anymore. Instead of just saying like, here's Surface Pro 5 for $500, like Apple kind of does, where they like keep older stuff and they shift the price down. Microsoft's like, oh, we'll just get rid of it and you got to get the new one.
And they'll just introduce like a dumbed down model like the Laptop Go, which doesn't support the pen and has a low resolution screen, and then the Surface Go 2, which has a really good processor and a really good screen, but there are some limits of what you could do with it.
I think there's still we say this now being, what is it, almost 10 years or something of hardware making with the 2013. So, about 9 years of making hardware, that they still, I don't think they've gotten the manufacturing down like Apple does, where they can just churn out stuff and know exactly which price points to like aim at. I think they're still like, oh, we want to be the high end and we want to maintain that. And every time they come out with a new product, it's always the high end one. Plus, I mean, they also have all their partners to keep in mind too. So they have to like price around Dell, HP, Asus, Lenovo, Acer, and stuff like that, so that they can come in and look like heroes. Like, oh, we can get an Acer 15-inch laptop for like $300. Let's go get that one instead.
Yeah, and I think it's especially an issue with the phone, the Surface. Oh, my mind went blank. Duo.
The Duo, yeah.
I keep messing in my mind Duo and Neo, kind of. So the Duo, I feel, is the price is really an issue there, because Surface Pro 4, I bought it 6 years ago. It still runs the latest Windows updates. There's no issue. If I buy a Surface Duo for like, how much is it right now in the US?
$1,200.
Yeah, I think it's come down close to. I mean, you can probably get another carrier for like $1,000 now. Still, way too much.
Still, but I mean, 2 years from now, there won't be any update anymore.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like for that price, it's too much for me. I mean, I would buy a Surface laptop or Pro because I can use it for like 10 years pretty much. But if the battery lasts, but a phone that expensive that will be basically out of date in 2 years, I feel it's too much for me. I can't justify that spending.
Well, and it doesn't even come with like the baseline things that most phones have now.
Yeah.
Like you still don't have waterproofing, you don't have 5G, you don't have what's the other thing?
QI charging.
The wireless charging. I mean, again, these are all things that are nice for us to have. I don't know how many people use it, but it's still like, you can get a Nokia for like $500 and it has all of that stuff and like a crazy long battery and stuff like that. So I think, to say like, hey, here's $1,400 and we're going to take stuff away from you, it's really tough.
Yeah, it's just. But I really wish if someone offered me one, I would use it.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. I would definitely. If someone were like, psst, you want a Duo? I'd be like, yeah, I'll take it.
We had like a guest on last week who's all about the Duo and who was like a really big enthusiast with the Surface Duo.
Yeah, I mean, the sad part is like you said, they made great hardware and it lasts for a long time. So the hardware will last. He loves the hardware. It's the software, the experience that is like he's having an issue with. I think a lot of people are too, and I think it's because it's not Windows. they're having to work sort of with Android. They also just haven't had a great track record in mobile as far as nailing, the experience. I think all those things combined for $1,400 is probably like a wait and see thing for like maybe this year. Maybe this year they come out with more options, more colors, more configurations that'll have different pricing for people to kind of jump into.
Well, with Microsoft, I feel like very often you have to wait for version 2 or 3 to be safe to buy. Yes, 3 really.
Surface Pro 3,
Yeah.
the Surface Laptop 3. Like these are some of these three things. Windows 10 mobile.
I bought a Surface. No, it was a Microsoft Bound one. I should have waited for 3.
There you go. Yeah.
Which never happened.
Exactly.
All right, but that said, do you have a favorite Microsoft product? I know you talked about your Surface Pro 4.
That is well, hardware-wise, not really. I think. I mean, I can cheat a bit and go on the Nokia side, and I would say that the Lumia 800 was my favorite Windows device.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a great magenta polycarbonate Lumia 800. I mean, it looks fantastic. I mean, it looks colorful, fun, and it was not that expensive back then, so just really amazing for me. But
I think mine was the 920. I was a 920 guy, and I think I got that one in white or whatever. But it was amazing. Like
but I think in the US you didn't have much of Windows Phone 7 because
right.
I think the Lumia 800 was really for Europe only, and you got the 900 a few months later, right before Windows Phone 8 arrived. I do remember the smartphone beta test is over thing.
Oh yeah. Oh man, that didn't last.
No, they just.
Well, we were just talking about that because they came up with the design. What is it? The new design advertising that they have about Surface designed by
original by design.
It's a new commercial they have,
yes.
But it's really cool. It kind of takes a little bit after Apple's, but it's so much better than like those old Windows phones and the old Surface ones where people are like dancing and flashing colors everywhere, and people are like, "What did I just watch?" This one is it kind of shows people using the hardware, like it shows people using the Duo, using a Surface Pro, using a Surface Book. So I mean, it gives you a little bit more than those old Windows phones where the beta test is over.
Yeah, of course. But still, I like the colors. I miss the colorful things. I understand it's not. I understand it's not the same public. They want to be professional right now, so they need to stay on that side of design. But I felt like Nokia stuff was fun.
Well, that was the issue. The crazy thing is that like because it's polycarbonate, you didn't have to use a case. I mean, you could if you wanted to. They were a little thicker, but you didn't have to. And the colors you could show off. If you want to cover it up with a case, you can. I feel like all the phones are super thin now, and everyone puts them in a case anyway. Apple comes out with like 7 different colors, and people usually get, of those 7, they'll get like 3. They'll get the black, the white, and maybe whatever the color is for that year. But they won't get blues. They won't get reds or anything like that. And if they do, put a case on it. So why are phone manufacturers not coming up with a new color each year and saying like, oh, if you like it, put a case on. I mean, if you don't like it, put a case on it.
But just maybe to go back on topic, I think my favorite Microsoft product, 100% Microsoft, might have been the Zune.
Oh, Zune.
Zune HD.
Yeah. Very underrated product.
The gapless playback, back then it was amazing. And also it introduced to the mass Metro UI, and to me this still is one of the most amazing UI ever designed. I mean, I love Windows 8 with this style. I know a lot of people hate Windows 8, but I loved it with the tiles, the active corners, the hubs, where you could all get all your information there. I feel like they killed it before people really understood how it worked, maybe because Microsoft didn't do a good job explaining. I remember, when you install Windows 8, it was like a 5-second thing just telling click active corner to find your stuff.
Yep.
And then blinking when you miss it, kind of. So it dumped you into a new UI with no explanation whatsoever. And I felt they could have handled that way better, and it could have been much more successful than it was.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I wondered like if the issue was that on desktop, on a 16:9 screen, or whatever your screen is, it's easier to see more when you scroll. As opposed to your on your phone, you have your thumb, you have a 4.5 5-point inch screen, and people were just getting annoyed by having to scroll when I guess the nature of scrolling was up and down. If they'd turned the Zune software to scroll up and down natively to scroll, information like that, I wonder if it would have lasted a little better than side by side.
And they even had Windows Phone 7 and 8 back then, so they could have done something unified with vertical or horizontal. I mean, it's a kind of it's adoptable there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of woulda couldas in Windows
Yeah,
Phone.
of course. Yeah.
But what do you think about Windows 10 and Windows 10X and the software? You mentioned you like software more than you like the hardware. So what are your thoughts on Microsoft's current software and what they're doing with Windows?
Well, that's very good and there's awesome. Like always. Let's start with the good. I mean, with the Windows 10, I think is amazing because it goes back to what Windows NT was supposed to be at first. If you go back to the root of Windows NT in the 90s, Microsoft wanted to do an operating system that would run everything. It would run Windows app, DOS apps, OS2 apps, Linux apps. And basically, I feel like after many years where they made it Windows only, I mean, they completely disregarded the fact that NT was capable of running other stuff. They put it in the background and didn't use it at all. And it's finally back with a revenge, really, because there's a Windows subsystem for Linux. There's all the bridge they created to pull Android and iOS apps to. Oh no, Android. Sorry, that never came out. To pull our iOS apps to Windows 10. Also, the fact that they are trying to make it with the Visual Studio on a platform to develop for all OS as well. Yep. I feel like they're really positioning it to work the multi-purpose OS that everyone can use, whether you're a dev, a basic user, or web user. For web user, I mean, they're pushing a lot with PWE right now. PWA making them web apps almost as native as the real native apps. I mean, they're connecting them to the shell, to the share control, lots of things. I mean, they're really trying to make it, no matter what type of apps you write, it will be able to run on Windows 10, and no matter what kind of a device you're targeting, if you're a dev, you can use Windows 10 for development. And I think that is amazing. It's back to what Windows should have been from the start, and that is very good. But on the other side, there's still a bit of a leftover mess from the Windows 8 days. I mean, back when they started, created Metro UI and the WinRT apps. Basically, I remember this was weird. In the Windows 8 beta, they started to update the shell UI, the Win32 shell UI, to match a bit of the new WinRT Metro apps. And then, before release, they reverted it to the Windows 8 thing, and it stays like this. And that meant that for now, I mean, people have been complaining about that for years, but we have a bit of a mess where some stuff still look like Windows 7. Sorry.
Yep.
And some stuff still look like Windows 7. Some stuff looks from like Windows 8. Some stuff looks like from when they started the Windows 10, and now there's a Fluent design on top of that, and it's kind of a mishmash of a lot of stuff.
But they're changing icons to try and make it look nicer and more together.
But finally, I believe like since last year when Panos Panay took over Windows development, I think he just said, no, let's stop that. Let's just do something clean. And we are seeing this right now with WinUI and Project Réunion, which will merge the UWP WinRT side with the Win32 side. And I think that finally trying to unify Windows UI into something way more coherent. So we are going to right directions there. But still, I have one big complaint yet, is that they completely disregarded tablets.
Yeah.
I used to use my Surface on Windows 8 on tablet modes, but I don't bother anymore. It's so bad with Windows 10. It's just there's no point with tablet mode for the time being. So I wish sometime in the future I would maybe do something again with that. I can only hope.
So is that the one thing that you want to change at Microsoft? If you were Satya Nadella and you could change one thing at Microsoft, what would you change?
I think I would change communication.
Really?
Yes, because let's be honest, Microsoft has never been good at communication, and they're not getting any better, sadly. I mean, even for the future of Windows, even as an insider MVP, we are not. We feel that they don't want to give away too much, And in public, it's even worse. For example, let's talk about Sun Valley. We all know it exists. We all know
Right. Yeah.
something major is coming, but they won't. You will not ever find someone at Microsoft admitting that something is being done. It's just we don't. They don't want to talk about it. I think maybe they've been burned before. I don't remember. Sorry. Do you remember in the back when they had announced a new Windows version for Spring, and then there was a huge debate on Twitter whether it was the calendar Spring or another version of Spring, and kind of.
Yeah.
So I think now they are very scared of giving deadlines because they are scared that people will hold them to the deadline, and so they would rather not say anything. So, but I feel like it's a bit sad because they could. Be better. But that's not all of Microsoft. I mean, for example, the Edge team is very good with that. The Edge team have a lot of timetables. They say in the next version what they want to do, 2 versions from now. And I wish other teams would work like this.
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we've all, at least the three of us, have had at some point talked about communication. I've written constantly about
Yep.
their lack of communication or their efforts to be better at communicating that have failed, things like that. Because I feel like with as much communication as you have, I think people will be more forgiving than when
Yes.
you just throw something at them and say, "Here it goes," and they're like, "Well, I didn't know this was coming," or "I had no time for this," and when it does show up and it kind of changes things or affects things that they're used to, then they're like, "Well, get this out of here." And now
Do,
Microsoft is like, "Oh, we didn't do it right."
do you remember when they moved all of Windows to from Redstone 2 to the new version Redstone 3, and they moved
Yeah.
Windows Phone to Redstone 2 Future 2, I think. And everyone of Twitter was like, "You're killing Windows Phone." And they were, "No, nothing is happening, nothing whatsoever. Don't disregard that. It's just something internal. We are not killing Windows 10 Mobile." And then 2 months later, we're killing Windows 10 Mobile. kind of,
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, I
So,
know it's tough to be like, we're going to deprecate a product. And again, there you go. Use the word deprecate and let people know that there's a timeline for this to like be over. Like, we're going to shift technologies. We're going to take
yeah.
it in Windows 10 and move it over to, a sync feature in the new version of Windows. But Windows 10 Mobile will no longer be a thing. And we're going to,
Yeah,
you know, we're giving you a year to kind of work on that versus like, oh no, things are perfect. Like, apps are coming, people are signing up left and right, and just don't buy the next phone.
it feels even worse because we all in the Windows community we all know the truth, we know, and they just sometimes they just pretend this stuff like this. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, I totally agree with you. I don't think you could have said it better. Communication is probably going to be like, whenever we ask people this question, I think they're usually going to say something along those lines. Either that or better hardware, and I don't know how they could say that.
Well, that said, that's our last question for you. So, if you have anything you want to add, or like tell our
Yeah.
viewers and our listeners where they could find you, or where they could listen to you, or where they could find out more about you, now's your chance. The floor is yours.
Yes. Yes. So I'm mostly active on Twitter. So I'm French, but I mostly tweet in English because, well, you reach a way broader audience like this. Let's say so. My Twitter handle is Flobo09, so FLOBO09. Pretty easy to find. And well, I'm also very active in a French podcast, lifestyle podcast, but most of you will probably not be able to understand it, so it's pretty sad. And I'm also doing a cool project right now with them. We are doing an history of Microsoft thing. We are doing for lots of 1 hour podcast video on YouTube, and every time we go a bit forward into the timeline. We started in 1975. Right now we're in the late 90s, but sadly it's in French as well. I'm sorry, so I'm not
No,
sure
that's
much
cool.
people will be able to enjoy it. But there's 10 episodes of it already, 10 hours of it. So we are going slow, but it's fun.
Maybe people will learn French. That I know there are a lot of international or people of different nationalities that have learned English by watching like TV. So maybe you'll
Yeah,
teach some people some
I
French.
did. I did
No, there
exactly.
you go.
I was it was mostly Stargate. Stargate in French was
Yeah.
was 2 seasons late. I wanted to know if Daniel Jackson would come back, so I kind of started watching the
Oh
the
man.
UK version.
That's awesome.
I learned English that way.
See, there you go.
Well, thanks so much, Florian. We appreciate you having you on. You are a man of knowledge, just like how we are. It's so
Thank
awesome
you.
to be able to talk to a fellow Microsoftie and a fellow Microsoft fan.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Thank you for your time, man. And we look forward to like hopefully having you back on sometime down the road. We'll talk about some stuff, maybe some stuff after build or
Yeah,
maybe some event that they
sure.
have.
I'll be happy to come back. Thanks.
Thank you. And that was our interview with Florian. Again, we are, blessed to have him come on the show and talk to us and everybody about his journey, a very long journey, to where he is today and how he's become an MVP and how the insider programs work and, just his whole, lust for Microsoft things and his enthusiasm for the company, its products, and its software. And as we always say, I think with every interview we have, everyone talks about the communication level with Microsoft. So again, if we're thankful for him to come on, and we're glad you guys sat through that. And now we're going to get on to the news.
Yeah, why don't you get us started with the big news of the week, which was the Surface Laptop 4, Surface Headphones 2, and Microsoft Modern accessories. I know you're always hyped for pumped. Let me say pumped for new
Pumped.
Microsoft things. Yeah, so get us
Yes,
started. Tell us
just
what's
like
new in Surface Laptop 4.
just like Panos, I am pumped about the Surface Laptop 4, which we got confirmation that it will be coming with Intel and its Xe graphics and AMD versions. Is just kind of like we'd all kind of predicted. It has a new color, which I believe is ice blue. A lot of us were saying cobalt, me in particular. So get mad at me if that's where you were misled. The ice blue is nice. It looks like a shimmier version of the gray one that they have. But hey, I guess this is supposed to be for commercial and consumer use. And then we also got, I think we got the 13-inch and the 15-inch were unveiled. Again, like I said, 11th gen Core i5, i7 CPUs with Xe graphics. Or again, if you want, I think there's a breakout between the difference between Intel and AMD, but they're saying for the consumer version, more likely you're getting an AMD Ryzen 4000 Surface Edition processor with integrated Radeon graphics. There's still no dedicated GPU option, which is, I guess to be expected if they're going to be coming out with a Surface Book 3, 4.
Surface Book 3? Yeah, Surface Book
Yeah,
4. We had Laptop 3 and Book 3. I think it's Surface Book 4.
I think they're going to leave the dedicated GPU stuff for that PC, which can handle a little better. It has a little more room for ventilation and stuff like that, unlike the laptops, which are the chassis are kind of small and the fans are placed elsewhere. What Microsoft is promising is up to 19 hours. This is, I believe, for the 13.5-inch version, usually with the AMD Radeon processor. Now, again, that's AMD throttles a lot, so take that with a grain of salt. But we're expecting better battery life out of both these versions. The Surface Laptop 4 will start at about $999. That's for the base model of 13.5-inch with 6-core AMD Ryzen 5 GPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and a 256 gigabytes of storage. You can talk about the Intel one if you like.
Yeah, the 13.5-inch Intel models, interestingly enough, are more expensive than the AMD Ryzen models, which I don't understand. Why are they pricing Intel more than AMD? Maybe it could be related to the chip shortages or something, but the 13.5 Intel Core i5 model with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage is $1,300, and the 15-inch Surface Laptop 4 will start at $1,300 for the AMD model with a 6-core Ryzen 5 GPU, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and 256 gigabytes of storage. And the Intel models will start at $1,799 for Core i7 models with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. And that is one of the top end models. And I think for the first time, Microsoft is introducing 32 gigabytes of RAM in the Surface laptop line, which I don't think anyone will need. What would you be doing with so much RAM anyway?
Well, this is leading me to my next topic, aside from the accessories, is that Microsoft has a breakdown of the difference between the AMDs and the Intel versions. And they basically label it. I mean, it's a cool thing. They have, I think it's Microsoft Mechanics or whatever, is a YouTube channel where they kind of go over this in detail. They also have a docs page that goes over the, I don't know, 20 or so different SKUs for each for the between the two laptops and the processors. But they break it down as the Microsoft uh, Intel version is basically for people who are doing research, who
Ah,
need uh, you know high level or lots of calculations, things of that nature,
basically,
which
who need the XE graphics and that extra boost?
and that extra boost in processing performance, which is probably why they charge a little bit more. The AMD version they're pitching as for the creatives, they because AMD has their GPUs are a little different than the Intel ones, and they're made for moving pixels around on the screen a little better. So again, for those of you who are going to be doing video editing, again, these are what they label them as. I think early reviews are saying that there's really an insignificant difference between the two, but that's how they label them. AMD consumer ish, and Intel researcher, more medical institutes kind of usage and things of that nature.
What about Surface Headphones 2 Plus? I know I have Surface Headphones 2, but what's the difference between Surface Headphones 2 and Surface Headphones 2 Plus?
One is your average music and listening enjoyment headphones, and from what I can tell, the Surface Plus 2 are these new, uh, I guess, built for office use type headphones. It's weird. They have, I mean, there is actual difference.
They're
I
team
believe,
certified, I think, is the big difference for
well,
one.
their Teams for, yeah, and they actually have a dedicated Teams button on the headphone itself. So that's the big thing. So you can kind of tell who your cool friends are from your dorky office friends. Just look for the button.
And it also has a dongle as well rather than Bluetooth.
Yeah, I believe that they can still do Bluetooth too, though, can't they?
I'm not sure. We'll have to check and follow up on that.
But the dongle is obviously for office use and to make
Yeah.
sure that there aren't any issues in communication. Sometimes Bluetooth can cut out, it can be finicky. Not every office workstation, surprisingly, in 2021 has a Bluetooth connection. I actually have a computer at work that has, it doesn't have a Bluetooth uh, uh, support
Right.
in the
Yeah.
device itself. So I have to plug it in through a USB monitor. So this is again for those people who are in offices that can't make use of Bluetooth. You can still get the great noise cancel. I don't know if it's. I don't even. I think the noise canceling. You still have the great noise canceling, the great audio, but you can plug it in
Yeah,
manually.
and I just checked the product listing page, and you are correct. It does have Bluetooth support. Without the, if you don't want to use the dongle, you could use Bluetooth if you want to, and it's Bluetooth 5.0, just to be certain.
Yeah, so you won't get any latency between your Teams video and what you're saying on the screen, which is amazing. But again, for those of you who maybe one don't want to have f with batteries, you don't want to deal with batteries, and you just want the audio. Say you didn't charge it the night before and you have a long 3-hour Teams meeting, you can plug it in, get your USB power as well from that.
But enough about that. Let's talk about these new accessories, which I think I'm hyped for because we do a podcast and we use a webcam and we use microphones and we use speakers. And this is something that
We use all of this
Microsoft,
stuff.
yeah, Microsoft is finally listening to our feedback and is getting ready to release all these new accessories that will make our podcast even better.
Yeah, starting off, we have our Microsoft Modern Webcam, which looks, I'm saying it now, it looks like a Logitech cam. Maybe they partnered with them or talked about it, but it will be coming in at $69.99. It has a 1080p sensor, which should be good enough for most things, as long as it's over 720p, which we were getting for like the longest times. It will support HDR, has autofocus, as well as True Look technology, providing providing auto white balance, auto light adjusting, and facial retouching. Again, these are all the things I think there's support of. Teams, these are software things in Teams that you can carry around as well. And I believe in Zoom as well. So these cameras should give you all of the benefits of those meeting softwares.
Yeah, and what about the speaker?
That was the interesting thing. I don't think we didn't hear much about that, but they have this little, I believe it's a USB connecting speaker, which should help pump out audio and I believe should allow you to, and if you're in a room with other people, pick up their voices and get full audio out of that as well. I believe the speaker is, let me see.
100. It costs $100, and
Yeah,
There's no mention of Cortana or Alexa or anything in it. I believe it's just a little thing that you could plug into your computer and then get quick access to Teams and to kind of like those desk phones that people have in the office. It's like designed to plug into your computer and then get access to Teams and like boost your audio experience. And
This
it,
too has a dedicated Teams
yeah,
button, so
yeah.
again, you can tell your cool friends from your dorky friends if it isn't obvious from the plugged-in thing. But again, it's we'll have to hopefully we can get a review unit to see how the audio is because obviously this is its main purpose. But from what I can tell, it should have some decent far field microphones. Again, I think this is intended to be able to pick up multiple voices in a room, small area. Also, pump out audio loud enough so that you're not having to listen it from just your laptop itself, and you don't have to keep leaning in saying, "Repeat that. Say it again."
I know we talked about Surface Headphones 2 Plus, but I mean that's going to be priced like around probably 250 or $300, but they do have something more affordable, which is not Surface branded, but they're called the Microsoft Modern USB and Microsoft Modern Wireless headsets, which are both certified for Teams. They have a dedicated Teams button on it, a physical mute button, and an LED indicator. And they will both start shipping in June with prices starting at $50 for the USB model. So basically, it is a lot like the Xbox wireless headset in terms of the design, but it's more toned down for business use.
Yeah, I think it comes in black. Has a mic that's
Microphone.
attached, a microphone attached to the ear cup itself. It looks like a hybrid between the Surface headphones and the Xbox headphones as well. So maybe they took some old parts from both and Frankenstein a new headset for themselves.
All right, enough about Surface. Let's move on to Windows 10, which is everyone else's favorite topic.
Dun dun dun.
So Microsoft is making some changes to Windows Timeline in the most recent Windows Insider Dev branch bill. I think it's 21359 for
Mhm.
Windows Insiders in the Dev channel. Users who use a personal Microsoft account will no longer be able to upload new activity in Timeline, though people who are using Azure Active Directive accounts, or what is it?
Yeah,
AAD is the short term for it, will be able to still use Timeline as is. So what's going on here? Are they killing off Windows Timeline?
I think we should have on this podcast like a timelines like little ticker at the bottom, like this many days until it gets killed off or something. Because this is sort of what Microsoft does is when they start to deprecate something, they won't say it out loud. Just kind of like we said in our interview, they there needs to be communication here. I know that the interesting part is that we're all a lot of people are getting upset at the fact that timelines is about to go away in certain aspects, but it was kind of a redundant system to begin with. The technologies have all been used elsewhere. Like, I believe it's in like the Microsoft launcher. It's in the Edge itself. Like, these are all things that when you hop into your system, you don't need to necessarily look at timeline in order to get back to where you're at. The biggest fault of timeline was that we never got dev support for the cool apps that you were using. So if I use the comic book app a lot. And I could go in a timeline and jump straight into the last page I was on in my comic, even though I shut down my machine, which would have been great. Or if Instagram had it like, say there was a person you followed or a company you followed, and you just want to go straight into that stream without having to open up the app and scroll through to find their name and all that stuff. You could find those specific instances. Well, since the app support never showed up in that regard, all the other stuff, which was just like hopping into Office in a specific Excel doc or a specific PowerPoint documentation, or going in and finding a specific instance of your browser that you were in, favorites or something like that. You can all do that already. Like, you can open up the Office app and go straight into your specific Excel file, or you can just open the File Explorer. And the same thing with Edge. So as much as it seems like it's going to be a miss not having it sync so far, and eventually when they get rid of it, we'll all be like, oh, you took something else away from us. Not many people are already using it, and it was sort of redundant to begin with. It looks cool. I'm hoping they do something cool with that aspect of the screen, but I don't think we're going to necessarily have a long funeral and procession for Timeline.
Officially, their quote date, like everyone started writing the blog post saying Windows Timeline is dead. Like
It's not dead.
Tom Warren wrote one, and I was about to write one for my other publication. I'm like, wait. let me just reach out and hear what's the full story first. And then, like, right afterwards, they updated the blog post and they had this comment that said, all of your local activity history will still remain on Windows 10. So timeline is not officially dead. It's just that they're depreciating and removing certain features of it, but it'll still remain in Windows 10 as of now. In
And
as
yeah,
of now.
and again, without that being said, the major thing was the support for phone. I'm assuming, because that's the only other thing that connected to timeline that wasn't on the device itself. So, for those of you who weren't already using it or aren't using the Microsoft Launcher to begin with, this isn't a big loss to you. Maybe for people who are expecting to pick up Surface Duo 2 at some point and sync up their launcher and have all these activities on their desktop, you'll still again be able to do this through the Edge browser. And the Edge browser, I believe, just this week was it?
Segway.
Segway got into their Canary on iOS and Android. So again, you're getting even more sync abilities and your favorites and your instances of what you're doing on your phone in this. So while they have taken one, or while they're slowly taking one thing away, they're quickly bringing something else to replace it.
Yeah, and you segue us into our fourth topic, which is Edge version 90.
Yeah.
It started rolling out to the stable branch. I think it was on Thursday, but a lot of people are reporting that they're not getting it as of yet. But it is rolling out, and it's the first major update to be released following Microsoft's announcement that they're switching to a faster 4-week release schedule for Edge. And the main new feature in Edge 90 is Kids mode, and for my other publication, I had a chance to sit down with an Edge PM and we talked about Kids Mode, and it is really awesome. As of right now, Edge is now the only major browser that has a Kids Mode built in where you just toggle to your profile and then you click the Kids Mode button, and the browser will switch to full screen and will lock kids out from like accessing the taskbar and the start menu and limit them to whatever you put in the settings for them to access. And there are cool themes. I believe Microsoft partnered with Disney on certain themes, and it's more artful. The PM told me that they wanted to make sure that Kids Mode does not look like the regular Edge does and the Edge that your parents would use does. So it's pretty fancy, it's pretty unique, and it's awesome that Microsoft is trying to push Edge further as a solution for kids as well.
Yeah, they're doing some amazing things with Edge. I think one of the quick one that I wrote about, which is kind of tangential to this, is that when they rolled out this, they're also rolling out their Edge Surf game to other browsers.
Yeah.
Again, I had written about this. It's a cool little 8-bit game that kind of, I believe it was Sky something or other, or Ski something or other, which is what it was based off of, based off the Windows game. The way that this works with the rollout of Edge 90 is that when you start the game, you can go into any URL in any browser, type in the search, and it'll bring up the game. And then it'll give you a sample of the game on whatever browser you're using. But if you want to get the full game and unlock the full game, it'll prompt you to use Edge. So if you're on Safari, you can type it in, start playing it for a little bit. If you want to get all the other modes, all the other special abilities, things like that, it'll prompt you to kind of download Edge. And I believe this is just part and parcel with like the way that they're pushing Edge. And
right.
We've been saying that they're making inroads. Again, they're not a behemoth by any manner, but they are inching incrementally better than they were with the original Edge, with the 8.1 version of Edge, with Windows 7. They're trying to replace a lot of this Internet Explorer stuff with Edge, and I think they're doing it the right way.
Yeah, Edge is going to new places and always getting new features. It's not linked to big Windows 10 updates like it used to be, and it's built on Chrome, the same engine that Chrome uses. So Edge is always getting updated, and Microsoft has big things planned for Edge. So download Edge, use Edge, and enjoy Edge.
Yeah, and the last other feature about the rollout was that it got password monitor.
Oh yeah.
For the version 90, which is again, it's huge for any of us who are, again, Microsoft's been attacked almost relentlessly this past year, and passwords and things that you sign up for are always under attack. So Microsoft, I think Google does this too. Well, they'll alert you when you go log into something that you've already used or you already saved a password for, and let you know if this password has been leaked, if it's been tampered with, anything like that, and suggest that you change it. And so this version of 90 has that. So again, I've been saving a lot of my stuff in Edge. I know was the LastPass used to be a place I would go. They made some questionable choices
Oh
2 months
yeah.
ago or something like that. And Edge just showed up right on time with this new version. So all the things I've been saving has been in that and in the Authenticator app. So between those two, I've had basically moved all my like password management over to those, and it's been doing a great job of monitoring and letting me know like, hey, this you have 13 passwords that have been leaked, and we suggest that you change them. And I've gone in and done that.
They also have an improved history search page that will now understand search terms like news articles from last week or jacket from yesterday. So again, they're listening to feedback from people who are testing the Canary dev and the beta versions of Edge, and they're improving on features that people say they want and people need.
And now we go on to our last one, which again has no segue because this came out of this came out of left field for all of us, which is Microsoft acquiring Nuance for 19.7 billion, which makes this the what, third or third
Fourth
largest
yeah, yeah.
purchase they've had in recent years. And again, I'll let you take this because I really didn't know what Nuance was until 4 days ago,
So the
3 days ago.
company, so Microsoft made it official. I mean, there was some rumors going around last week before up until the announcement. I mean, obviously it's probably designed to like tweak with the stocks and get like stock prices going up or whatever. But the announcement itself happened later in the week, and it's a 19.75 billion all cash deal. Microsoft is buying the AI software company for, which is what Nuance is. And as part of the deal, Nuance's CEO will remain in his position until the deal closes, and he will be reporting to the EVP of Cloud and AI, Scott Guthrie. So, if you're not familiar with what Nuance is, it was an early leader in speech recognition software with Dragon natural speaking products, and then from now on, from that was not early on, but right now, Nuance is all about its AI software, which is targeted at healthcare, which is what the press release mentioned. So is Microsoft dipping its feet into the healthcare aspect, or are they dipping their feet into the AI aspect?
I think they're jumping their whole cannonball body into both pools if they can. Obviously, with speech recognition, I know we're all shedding a tear for Cortana, but it's still applicable to all other aspects of privatized communications within companies. You can build your own framework for your own speech recognition tools, and I think that would serve more companies more benefit than just having to kind of sync with Cortana. So that's something that they can still provide. As far as the health part, again, this is they're building everything in Azure, and they're wanting people to they're wanting to ease the pathways to information for everybody. So if they have a database that they can pull from, and they can secure it within Azure, and hospitals can standardize on this, they could be in a really good position with this Nuance purchase as well. So now, if you're Kaiser Permanente or Blue Cross Blue Shield, something like that, and you decide to move over to Azure, you'll be able to probably tap into this pool of medical information.
Is this like how does this rank in list of companies that Microsoft has acquired? I know they did LinkedIn, they did Bethesda. Now there's rumors going around about Discord, but nothing has happened with that yet. So where does this rank in terms of Microsoft all-time purchases?
Well, that's the crazy thing is that I see this being one of their bigger ones that doesn't get talked about a lot because this is going to be strictly enterprise commercial venture. LinkedIn has a social aspect. Bethesda has a very social aspect because of the gaming, things like that. Discord, same thing. I mean, a lot of these purchases they could be consumer front facing. This one will be something that I believe that they'll be able to put against like Salesforce things and other companies like that with CRM tools and be able to say like, hey, not only will you get our tool, but you'll be able to have access to this as well. And that's going to be huge for them, which is probably why the price tag is as big as it is. I see this being, again, pretty big for them in the future. To what degree, I'm not sure we'll even know the full scope of that. Maybe they'll talk about it at Build somewhat. More than likely, probably talking about their next Ignite conference as well.
LinkedIn was 26.2 billion in 2016, and now Nuance is 19.7 billion. So it is up there as number two.
Yes. Oh, there you go. Number 2. What was the Bethesda one then?
I think that was around 10 billion, if I'm not
Okay. Okay.
mistaken. Yeah. So it's up there as number 2.
Okay. Well, there you go. You got our numbers guy. He's all over it.
So now, time for the week ahead, which we don't have a segue for this week because, yeah, but time for the week ahead. And one thing that Kareem hinted at the top of the show that we'll be doing for the week ahead is my review of the Dell Ultra Sharp 38 curved USB-C hub monitor. I tweeted about it a couple days ago, and this thing is massive. It's like on my desk, and it is the length of my entire desk. But it's like having 3 monitors in one, and the way that it's curved, it's so natural, and it's like you don't need to constantly move your head back and forth like you would if you had 2 monitors on your desk. And it has USB-C, so I just plug my Surface Go 2 right into it, and the monitor itself has an Ethernet port. So the monitor serves as your hub for everything that you need, and it's really awesome. And I can't wait to share my full thoughts with you guys later on next week.
Yeah, with that being said, we also will be talking about Edge 90. Even though we got Edge 90, we'll be talking about Edge 91. We're already on to the next thing in the dev branch coming out. We expect that to be rolling out and see what new features we could all start playing with.
Yeah, Microsoft talked about the last in the last Dev Channel branch build announcement post. They mentioned that the one from last week on April 13th, 91.0.852.0 is expected to be the penultimate build before a final one next week. So that's why we're saying keep an eye on next week for Edge 91.
Yeah, and then we also have Flight Simulator update, which again I'll let you talk about because that was your baby project.
Oh yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator got another big massive update, and it's a free update as always, and it adds more detailed landscapes and visual enhancements for France, which is funny because our guest was French,
Yeah.
Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Now this is the fourth world update for Flight Simulator since the game launch, and there were previous updates which focused on Japan, UK, and the US. So Flight Simulator is getting big updates.
Yeah, and I think that should be it. We're expecting to get Surface laptop in for review, so keep your eyes out for first impressions on that. I also have some other Lenovo laptops that ThinkPads that I should be giving some first impressions on as well. So that's me as far as hardware, and I think that should be our impactful week ahead.
Yeah, that's it for us for now. So I leave you for the traditional outro as
Yeah.
always.
I am Mindhead1 on Twitter. That's usually the only place I'm really active on. Again, Mindhead1. And where can they find you?
A backjourn.
Yeah, also on Twitter. And we also would like to give a shout out to our own publication on Microsoft on Twitter. Again, if you want news about giveaways, if you have questions, if you don't have time to listen to the podcast or go to visit our full website, Twitter's a great place for headlines of all the news that's going on.
Yeah, and that said, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope to see you again soon. Same place, same time.
Yeah, wear a mask, keep those vaccinations coming so we could all have a Surface event in person.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Bye.